creative projects together. Jill is a writer. She's published 2 books in Floris and in another editor which I don't remember, with very good acclaim. And she trained at Schumacher College, worked a lot about issues of sustainability, and that is her perspective now for entering this field of nature spirituality. Thank you, Jill.
Thank you, Raphael. And thank you everyone for being here this evening. And I'm sorry I'm only speaking English, but I understand that everybody here is probably far better at English than I would be at Norwegian, or German, or Russian, or any of the other languages that are present in the room. So I want to talk to you about slime mould. Does anybody know what I mean by that? Some people have come across slime mould before, yes.
Myggsopp på norsk.
Now that's better than my German translation, because when I googled this, what I got was Schleimschimmel, which probably doesn't work so well in the German. So this evening we're going to be hearing about some wonderful nature, and let's start with the single-celled amoeba. So that's how the slime mould spends most of its time. A single cell feeding on the forest floor. But when resources start to run out, something remarkable happens. One amoeba senses that there's danger and begins to send out chemical cells to other amoebas in the area. Signals that say, we're in danger, we're going to starve. Now, as long as other cells hear and pick up that message and they agree, then what happens is they start sending out signals too, and all the little cells begin making their way towards the ones who are sending out the signals, and they form into a body, like one body, like a little bit like a slug, but far more beautiful. Let me see if I can get this image here. No, that's not showing, but I can assure you I can assure you it's very beautiful. So, what the slug can then do is it can move, a bit like a swarm of bees, it can move as one body to a place where there are more resources. But that's not the end of the story. What the slime mould then does is to transform from this slug-like body into a fruiting body, a little bit like a mushroom. In this area where isn't that amazing? In this area where there are more resources. And then what it does is to send out spores, just as a mushroom would do, individual cells, which can then start the whole cycle over again. Now, not all the individual cells make it. Some of them it will have been their destiny, if you like, to become cells in the stem of the mushroom, and they've actually sacrificed themselves for the greater good. So it sounds pretty simple. There's a threat to the environment, or to resources, or to our context, and so what do? The individuals send out a message, and everybody knows what needs to happen. Everybody comes together and collaborates and works together to move to where resources are more abundant. And everybody has a role to play, and they all know what their role is to play. At one level, this is a very primitive knowing, but it's actually much more than that too. The cells are able to tune into a level of connectedness that often eludes us human beings these days. There was a time when all humans worked for the greater good. For hundreds of millennia, in fact, work wasn't a thing that you would do just when you're in the workplace and then come home again. Work wasn't a thing that you would just do between 9 o'clock and 5 o'clock, and then you wouldn't be working anymore. So the work, of course, would be wherever the need was, and whenever the need was, whether that's pulling a thorn out of somebody's foot, or the next meal, making a shelter, creating important ritual and celebration. That would be the work, and everybody would know what their part in creating that work would be. And deep in our souls, we still know how to do this, don't we? We still know how to do this. So the difference between us and slime mould, well, okay, there are lots of differences actually between us and slime mould, but one of the differences is that when the emergency call goes out, all the cells do the same work, feeding them until the call goes out. They all do the same work. They're feeding themselves as individuals on the forest floor. It's a little bit like, who knows leafcutter ants? You know leafcutter ants that make it, again, their industry is cutting leaves and harvesting leaves. You're familiar with this, yes? So all leafcutter ants are in the same industry. They all harvest leaves. Although individuals will play their parts, that's what they're all doing. And then when you think about dogs, maybe, they're slightly different. So anybody who knows dogs well will know that different species have different jobs. So the border collie's job is to round up sheep. And if there are no sheep to round up, well, the border collie just rounds up children or whoever or whatever there is to round up. Can't stop them doing it. Whereas they're not the only animals that are or the only dogs that are very passionate about their work. You might also have a lap dog who's very devoted to the work and sitting on somebody's lap and being fed little treats. Can't stop it doing it. So humans are different again. We're the only species that have such a diverse contribution amongst us. So do people know about the Amish? Oh, there's the lovely slug. Look, here are the slime mould cells travelling together. They've all come together because resources are scarce. They've all decided to move on. And this is what they've made. Isn't that beautiful? And here is the fruiting body. And here are the ones that have said, that's okay, I'll go in the cell, I'll go in the stem, and I'll sacrifice myself for the greater good. There's them. And here is a group of people, it's a little bit distant and maybe a little bit far away. We can't quite see what they're doing, but we can gather that maybe they're preparing the next meal. Or maybe they're pulling the thorn out of somebody's foot, doing the work that needs to be done for the greater good and the benefit of the community. Leafcutter ants, aren't they marvellous? So each one trundling along with its leaf, taking it back to base, ready for fermenting. And then here we have two different types of dog. These ones who love to work very hard. And this one, who is also actually working very hard, being a lap dog. And here we have an Amish community. Are people familiar with the Amish in the States? So you may have seen the film Witness. Did anybody ever see that? There's this wonderful piece. It has lovely music with it too. A wonderful piece in The Witness where a barn needs to be raised and the whole community comes together and raises the barn. So everybody has something to do and everybody knows what theirs is to contribute, including the children. There's something for everyone, whether it's carrying a bucket of water or whether it's lifting the heaviest girder or thinking about the plans. So some of you are going off up into the mountains next week for summits, which will be wonderful. And you may find that you're a part of a whole, contributing your own special thing. So that could be carrying a heavy load, or it could be comforting somebody who's having a bad day. Or it could be that you're fantastic at map reading skills. But whatever it is, you will all have, like slime mould and like the leafcutter ants, your own task to play. It's almost like you have your own ecological niche. These are the things that you do best and most naturally. The things that make up your special, unique ecological niche. And maybe you do them so naturally that you don't even know that you do them. You don't even know that this is your gift. And so, like the slime mould cell, you all have something really important to contribute, and that's true of everybody here. You all have your gift. So when we can approach work in that way, it serves not only the community, but it also serves the wider ecology. When we listen intuitively to each other, to ourselves, and to what's around us, and we collaborate creatively in response to our context, we're serving the greater good, not just our community, but the greater ecology and that vast cosmic energy flow, constantly striving to perfect itself through the health and well-being of all of life on Earth. And so the humble slime mould, engaged in its work of clearing up the forest floor, is truly engaged in a spiritual act, that of contributing to the greater good. Thank you.